It's very normal for software engineering roles to require technical assessment. It's also true that most of the roles I've received are from recruiters on LinkedIn. Knowing this, a person with bad intentions reached out to me about a role, and in the technical assessment was embedded a backdoor into my machine. So should I have ran it, I would have found myself in a very precarious situation. I'm going to share the entire saga with you guys from when the individual reached out to me to when I discovered the malfeasance live on stream. And please share this with as many people as possible. I don't know the best way to get the word out, and I also don't know what the best way to share the documentation because I don't want to promote this malfeasance. But at the same time, please share this with folks so more software engineers are aware of a new area of concern. So how the conversation started was a guy named Barry Andrews, and I'm happy to leak his name. He hit me up about says he's investing in a Web3 game, describes it, and he was saying he was wanting a software engineer to join. He says the position is fully remote at 100 to 140 an hour, which, based on my work experience, that would be significantly higher than I normally ask for a similar engagement. I responded saying, okay, I'm somewhat interested. I was a little skeptical of the price, right, that he was bidding at, but nonetheless, I was like, all right, let me just see where this goes. So in his follow-up message, he says they have 9 developers. And then, a lot of this just sounds too good to be true. Oh, you can work part-time, you can work full-time, you're making 100 to 140 an hour. Like all of that reeked of scam. So I don't respond because I'm like, you can work part-time, basically as much or as little as you want for 100 to 140 an hour. I was like, this is just too much. So he says, any updates? And I was like, look, I tell him, I'm interested. The fact that the rate is significantly higher than my typically hourly range, it gave me pause. I tell him I usually work between $80 and $100 an hour. But I'm like, well, if you're able to demonstrate the legitimacy of the opportunity, I'd be open to doing it. So I share my portfolio and also say that I can provide my resume. He responds. I also provide my resume. Thank you for sharing. Flatters me, which scammers are known to do. And then he goes over the process. So on the surface, this is not unlike what you might expect for a contractor role. Now, there's so many ways you can kind of acquire a contracted role. Sometimes as simple as a 1-hour over-the-phone conversation. Sometimes with a very complicated onboarding process. But broadly, this is, to be expected. A little odd because I've never been quite approached in this way. But broadly, 2 technical interviews, and then I guess an NDA signing. This is not super unusual. So the reason I have these messages is because I was talking to my friend Dylan about it, Orge, and I'm like, what do you think? I shared the screenshots that I've shared with you guys with Dylan, and Dylan says, well, maybe it is legit. You should give it a go. And for me, like kind of how my professional life is, I tell Dylan, I'm like, I'm sus of it, but I'm going to follow up for the content. So that's all the setup. So the next bit, I don't have screenshots of, but I do have myself looking on a stream through the conversation. He sends the technical assessment document, and then I don't do it immediately, and he follows up. He says, any updates? I tell him, I'm available today or tomorrow. And so basically, the stream you're seeing right here is when I first, committed to going through the technical portion of the interview. So I'm not sure what the best way to kind of communicate this is. I do have the stream. I'll link the full original stream. But what I'm doing here on stream is I'm running the technical project against Cloud Code. I did read some of this technical assessment. He had asked me to do the full stack developer test. And so I did read through some of it. But, my first approach kind of at this point for any software engineering project is, get it into Cloud Code as soon as possible, just so, at least as context. Okay, so what happens next is I get Cloud Code's recommendation, and I notice that it's asking me to connect to MongoDB, which is super uncommon. These take-home questions, although they become quite complicated now, usually have 3 days. I've had some that take 2 weeks, but they usually don't require you to connect to a database. So that part was just really throwing me off. That's why in this portion of the stream, I'm looking at it, I'm like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. Why would I need to connect to a database? So that kind of really threw me off. So this is where it gets really interesting. Take a look at what I type here as a prompt. So this is Cloud Code's plan to actually do it. But I'm like, instead of doing it, I say, I want you to do a quick analysis of the security of this project. So Cloud Code was ready to go. Had I said yes, auto accept edits, it probably would have asked me if I allowed it npm install or npm start to occur. So it's not a guarantee that should I have said yes, it would have, really put me in a bad situation. But before I even do any of that, as a fourth option, I tell Cloud Code, I want you to do a quick analysis of the security of this project. Yeah, so the full query was, before you do any network request, let's do a security. And you saw at least a portion of it. And so Cloud Code says, smart move, let's audit this before running anything, and we'll see how that unfolds. So what happened next was I got the results of the security audit. And of course, Cloud Code says not run as is. This reveal contains what appears to be a supply chain attack. Malicious code disguised as error handling middle. That's like in the network request, there was quite a bit of malfeasance going. And I'll talk a little bit about what some of those specifics are. You can see they had some of these environment variables that had huge potential for destruction. And so you can see that the response is stored globally, and a function.constructor call enables remote code execution. And so running this project would make your machine, susceptible to remote attacks. And so this part's also interesting. It's got these legitimate external URLs and then non-legitimate URLs. So I was kind of like going through, kind of the security audit, and you could see this Walter server.vercel app, like all the middleware. The network requests were just a complete disaster. When I saw it, I wasn't quite sure why the middleware was, I couldn't put my finger on it, but they had embedded in the code, these network requests that were just so sus, including Walter server.vercel.app. I think that's probably a good place to stop. If you guys would like me to do a follow-up and go into more depth about the security audit, I'd be happy to do so. So just leave a comment in the video. Also, please share, like, and do everything we can to promote this so other folks are aware of this. With that said, thank you guys so much. Peace.